Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 219, we welcome back to the podcast Dr. Michelle Robin. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson, also lovingly known as RCA. I am the host. I'm here today in 818 Studios, and it's a great day because I'm here with my producer and a dear friend.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 219 of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. As always, and I say that because I always say this, I hope you've had a good weekend and I hope you're ready for an amazing week. Let's see, what else do I always do? Oh, I always mention the time of year and
the weather,
the same, it's just chit chat. It's hard to believe that it is the end of August. Pumpkin spice is in the air and I could not be happier for pumpkin spice everything. I'm not one of those people that hate on pumpkin spice everything. I'm down. I'm here for it.
You're down. Well, anyway. And we do have a very special guest in the studio with us, Dave.
Yes, we do. We have Dr. Michelle Robin back on the show. I'm so glad to have you with us today.
Well, it's a joy to be with you anytime. It's mostly fun to watch you two banter back and forth.
Yes, welcome to the banter. Well, Dr. Robin, we've known each other for so long, and I've really enjoyed getting to experience your journey. And even though we're not in the same city anymore, I still feel pretty connected to you anytime we talk because our journeys have both continued forward in a powerful way. And I've, especially recently, you've always been doing the work, but recently, some of this new work, those 30 lessons in 30 years, your small changes, big shift, your show, and all the great resources you're providing for community. I just felt our listeners will really connect with you. And what I know is there's planes that go to Kansas City and, people could definitely benefit from some of your retreats and workshops. And even speaking events. I know you're doing more speaking now as well. So anyway, welcome to the show. Absolutely glad you're here. And so tell us a little bit about what's been going on for you lately. And I'm kind of curious, just right off the bat, this is not really what we're here to talk about, but how have you managed through COVID? You're a business owner, you're a speaker. How has that been for you in your journey?
Well, first of all, it's been a joy to have been in each other's lives for about 27 and a half years. So we met at the community of Overland Park through our dear friend, Mary Omwake, and,
yes.
Who happened to make her transition during COVID. So that was hard. I'll tell you that.
Hard. Mm-hmm.
I think that's Mary's probably the most significant person I've lost in my life, and I've lost a lot of people.
Yes.
I'm sitting in my studio looking to the right, and I've got a board that says your vibe attracts your tribe. And on top of that board, it says, thank God for this moment. And I'm grateful for this moment. I'm grateful for the many moments I got to have with Mary. But so as far as COVID, I run a wellness center. And so
right.
I remember that March of 2020, kind of like yesterday, but I remember really not being the leader I wanted to be that first week because you started to step into fear instead of faith. And I kept waking up that week hearing the words, Michelle, you've got to find a rhythm to have resilience. And I kept hearing those words and kept hearing those words. And I went to my team and who are, chiropractors, acupuncturists,
right.
counselors, massage therapists. And our massage team took some time off, but our chiropractors and acupuncturists stayed in the office. We didn't close one day due to COVID. And so I actually took a few weeks away. Our business went from thriving, the best March best year we were ever having,
right,
down about 75%. But we still had that 25% of people that really desperately needed our care. And
right.
So I was able to step away for a few weeks while my team held it together, plus to have so much exposure and make sure that, the biggest fear I had was not exposing other people.
Right.
So, but I'm going to call you Alice because that's how I know you.
That's fine. I love it.
And but I kept hearing, Michelle, find a rhythm. You're going to have
Yeah.
resilience to get through this time. And so I literally left and went to our lake house, which is, kind of secluded, and did a series. Called my friends and said, "Hey, the world's struggling right now," and we went live every day at noon and
Yep.
invited people to join us. And so that's how it kind of helped me, is just being of service to other people.
Yes.
Went back in the office, a few weeks later, and really haven't left. And COVID, in so many ways, has been good for rebalancing. I believe that I was on a rat race. I'm going to speak for anybody else. I was in the rat race,
Yes, I agree.
and it made me kind of take a deep breath,
Mm-hmm.
prioritize. Yes, a lot of people have had a really difficult time, and we're in a whole nother season. I call COVID whack-a-mole. Do you remember playing whack-a-mole as a kid?
Totally.
Yeah. And so we're in a whack-a-mole time right now, and it's fascinating to continue to navigate these times. So I would have to tell you that I kept a list of my lessons I was learning during COVID, and one of the things that was pretty profound for me was, am I okay in this moment?
Yes.
And I believe that helped me get more present, because so many times as a visionary, you're looking ahead, and you're not as present in the moment as you want to be.
You're so right about that. And I love that question. Am I okay in this moment? Because the ego always wants to go out way in front and, catastrophize what's next. And of course, that's very difficult not to do when everyone around you is doing it as well. So I think COVID, for me, was a test of my spiritual fortitude, honestly, because of how many people I was supporting through it as well. And you're right, as leaders, we're always trying to look forward. And also, we feel a great deal of responsibility to the people, that we serve, both patients. In my case, it's my one-on-one clients, my course participants, and now, my congregants, and they depend on us making wise decisions. So it can be a heavy load, not bad, but I mean, it carries with it a great responsibility. So I think that's a great question. I think if we all ask that question right now, life would get a little bit better. Am I okay in this moment? That's a great question.
Yeah, it truly helped ground me. And, unfortunately, I was born as a fear-based personality. I'm a 6 on the Enneagram.
Oh, you are a 6?
So, yeah, so it's kind of a little bit more fear-based. So it helped me calm my own, monkey mind.
Yes.
So that I could be more in the moment. So like I said, lots of gifts, lots of things that weren't gifts, but you and I tend to look at the cup half full. So I'm grateful for that genetic hiccup.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think that's what all your work is about. I mean, your website and your show, which I've been honored, to be on your show in the past. That's your whole idea, is small changes, big shifts. I mean, that's your website, right? smallchangesbigshifts.com. And that's part of what you help people with. Years ago, like you say, 27 and a half years ago, you and your your wellness connection, your wellness center, was super important in my journey to do just that. Because one area, when you shift one area, it impacts everything else in ways you couldn't imagine, when you start.
It's interesting to think about that. I'm going to go back to Unity. I came to Unity when I was in chiropractic school.
Is that when? Okay.
That's when, yeah. Mark Victor Hansen spoke at the Cleveland Chiropractic University, who's celebrating their 100 years this year. It's interesting to have been at least a part of their 34 years of the 100 years, which has been really nice. And he was talking about his vision around Chicken Soup for the Soul. He had not written that book yet. And he was speaking at Unity Church the following Sunday. Uh-huh. And I went to UCOP and have never left, and really felt called to the message of hope and healing and love. And so I believe the medicine and the principles of Unity were the small changes that have led to big shifts in my life.
Yes.
And probably saved my life so many times.
I agree.
There's story after story. And so one day, small changes, big shifts dropped into my awareness probably about 8-9 years ago. And somebody said, hey, would you do this blog talk radio show for me? Much like what you're doing with the channel. And I did that. And all of a sudden I said, well, what do I do? I teach people small changes, big shifts. And my first book, Wellness on a Shoestring, which was published by Unity's publishing house, Wellness on a Shoestring, 7 Habits for a Healthy Life. So it's kind of that common theme is that if you just do the next right thing, the next right thing, and then the next right thing will come. And all of a sudden, 30 years later, you're living this life you can't even begin to imagine that you get to live. And that's the place I'm sitting in gratitude in this moment.
Beautiful. Yes, you're absolutely right. And the interesting thing about Mary Omwake, I want to bring her up again because she was an important connector for us and for anyone that attended UCOP during that time. If it wasn't for Mary, I would never have worked at UCOP. I had come into town, I had moved into town rather a year before I started ministerial school. And I just walked into the church and I was, a friend of one of the ministerial students. And I got invited to lunch. And at lunch, Mary looked at me and said, you're going to do something. It was like such a little thing. But without her saying that, she said, I see you here. I see you working with us. And actually, I think now I'm thinking I hadn't moved there yet. It was before I moved there. I was visiting. And then when I came back, I walked in there I was kind of going to say hi to Fred Albers, the music director. And I was going to say hi to him and a couple people I had met. And I walked in and somebody said, here, there's a job here.
Wow.
And that was just when she was leaving. And then I became friends with, Greg Barrett. I'm still friends with him today. So that was such an important, moment. And Mary was like a genius at capturing those. I learned a lot from her.
What I love about that story is when Mary made her transition April 14th of 2021. I found out, of course, on tax day, which Mary would find very funny.
Right.
I probably have a little bit of a funny autistic spectrum issue. I think about acronyms. And so I got the privilege of speaking at Mary's service, and I wrote a affirmation for her around seeds. And Alice, what she did for you, she planted seeds, and what she did for me and what she did for so many other people is she planted seeds. And I'm curious for our listeners, besides being okay in this moment, I would invite you to think about what seeds are you planting in this time, this season, this winter season of humanity. What seeds are you planting? And so I wrote an acronym for Mary. Can I share it with you?
Of course, go for it.
And it's about seeds. In memory of Mary, plant these seeds to remember her legacy in the garden she began for you and me. Let us become her new gardeners and continue her belief that small seeds will one day show their beauty. And that's what you've done with your life and all the people that you've supported. It's such a joy to watch you. But here's the acronym I use for Mary's seeds. S, sight and vision of life. Mary had an ability to give you sight and give you vision for your life.
Totally.
And then encouragement. And then encouragement to me is like watering it. And I would see Mary and she'd say, oh, I see what you're doing. I remember writing the book on a shoestring. And she's like, okay, let me see. Do I have the 7 things? And one time I remember even saying, you know what, you forgot something. And it was really about hydration. And I'm like, maybe people know to hydrate. She's like, no, they don't. So anyhow,
she's
the book. Yeah, she's pretty direct on that.
Yeah.
When she knew, she knew. Yeah. And then in enlightenment, how could you feel more enlightened in your own spirit and your own connection? And then dash, and there's that poem about the dash.
Yes. Yes.
Began and when you end, and think about how you're using your dash. And of course, the S is for spirit. And
yes.
And Mary, whenever you were with her, I got the privilege of seeing Mary in January of 2021. And she was close to the veil. You saw
close to
her
the veil. Yeah,
close to the veil, and thinking about that. So I'm glad you brought up Mary. But and for our listeners, thinking about who's been pouring into you, and how do you how do you really thank them? And
Yes.
it may be a note, it may be a text, it may be just a prayer because maybe they're on the other side.
Exactly. Exactly true. Yep. Yep. That was and I think all of us really are leading people somewhere, whether we know we are or not. And I had a dear friend. I don't know if you remember how well you knew Jill Friedel, and now Jill Rogers, but she was a Unity minister that we worked together there. And she was very, very thoughtful and said to me one day, well, if you knew you were a leader, would you be happy with where you're leading people? And I thought, God, what a great thought. And the thing is, it's easy for me at this point to see myself as a leader because I have been for a really long time, but really we all are. So it's like, it doesn't really matter what you do for a living. If you cut hair for a living or you're a mechanic, you're still leading the people around you by the example of your life. It's not even what you say. Usually it's much more what you do. It's much more, who you are in the moments.
I'm part of another program, and I've got his picture over here too. I won't go grab it off my board, but with Barnett Hellsberg through Hellsberg Diamonds, he started when he sold that company. He started a Hellsberg entrepreneurial mentoring program, and one of my takeaways from him has been the UDM. You're the UDM of. He would say that, are you the UDM of your business, the ultimate decision maker? But we're all the UDMs of our own lives.
That's right.
And like I love the quote, walk out of your house like you're a shepherd. Can you take light to the world? And so when you're feeling, I want to tell you, I feel disconnected sometimes, but I work at it every day to help take care of that fear-based or that monkey mind or that who do you think you are? And I pour into podcasts like yours and other podcasts or books, or I have a prayer sheet, things that I can do. And you were showing off your new fancy bottle that has the prayer protection. And I actually have the whole prayer protection.
Oh, yes.
That I have on my little prayer sheet when I'm doing my lymphatic, I'm probably multitasking a little bit. And when I'm doing my prayer there. And so to our listeners today, there's so many little things that you might consider doing, or I know that you do stuff every day, Alice, to take care of this mind, body, spirit, because you're the UDM of your own life.
Right. It's interesting you're saying that. In my, I think the timing of our interview is really wonderful because I just finished a mini series at Unity North Tampa, called Words of Life. And we were talking about that. Each of us is the CEO of our own life, So I love UDM. I'd never heard that before, the ultimate decision maker. But we talked about it in you are the CEO of your life. You get to choose. And what we're seeking to do as spiritual beings is to live beyond our story. Like we all have a story, but I'm not my story. We've all had things happen to us, but we're not the things that happen to us. We're something bigger, something grander, something more expansive. We have this greater way of being in the world. And so what I was challenging my congregation on, could you stop seeking to tell your story and start living beyond the story, right, into your true nature? So this is what the goal is, of course. And you're absolutely right. We have to work on that every single day. I know I do.
Yeah. And especially in that time stamp of humanity where we're at right now. And I love that you've got to live what are the words you used? What are the words you used about that?
I said, just that we seek to live beyond our story.
Well, and I think we need to live beyond the story we're hearing right now, because I believe that we have more in common than we have different. I believe that we have more in common than we have different.
Absolutely.
And so I invite our listeners to be part of the solution to what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. And, as much as I love that our listeners listen to us on a phone or computer or tablet, whatever, I often say, please unplug for a while. I'll be here when you come back. Because part of the issue and part of what we were talking about in living a healthy life is some kind of intellectual stimulation as well as spiritual, nutritional, and getting the right medical support, that to really live a healed life, we also have to be inspired. And sometimes you have to unplug to do that. You have to actually pick up a real book to do that. You have to make something, create a project, or help somebody. Like, you have to come outside of what you're used to. And as much as I love this phone right here, it has completely taken over our lives in a way that I think is unhealthy. So yeah, let's be about, creating something amazing in the world. So let's go ahead. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Michelle. What were you going to say?
It's interesting. I had the chance to interview Tommy Sobel on my show about digital wellness. And our phones are here to enhance our lives. They're not here to run our life. So I would get the perspective, and I totally agree with you. Sometimes the inspiration has to come from within you and your spirit. And we're looking outside for that inspiration.
Yes.
And so once again, I invite the listeners. Thank you for listening and plugging into shows like this, and Small Changes, Big Shifts.
Yes.
At the same time, we invite you to plug into yourself and your own magnificence, because you have it there.
Exactly. Yes, that's the idea. So with that, we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back with Dr. Michelle Robin right after this. Welcome back. We're glad you're with us, and I'm sure you are enjoying hearing Dr. Michelle Robin. As always, we could go a variety of directions because, so I hope our listeners are engaged and feeling supported through our dialogue. But Michelle, what's always impressed me about you as a human is, yes, you are a successful business person. You're always going to have success because of your commitment to excellence. But what's always impressed me really is your spiritual work. And I have another dear friend who's a naturopathic doctor and a doctor of oriental medicine, and she went to Juilliard and a lot of outward achievements. But she says to me, well, the most important thing is my spiritual life. Without that, none of that other would exist.
Well, amen to that. I'm not even sure what to say to that. I remember being 31, and here we were talking about Mary in the first half, and in 1997, 25 years ago, actually this month, I was having a meltdown. I had a wonderful practice, making more money than I ever thought that I would make, taking care of patients, and I was practicing kind of like a guy, because that's where my mentors, it's about money and numbers. And I'm dying inside, literally dying inside. And I remember going to see Mary and saying, what do I do? And she goes, well, you give your joy to everybody but yourself. And so I got, you give your joy to everybody else but yourself. Isn't that profound?
Profound, yeah.
And so I happened to go a few months later to something called the Hoffman process.
Oh, yes.
Where I was able to really do some deep healing. I call it 10 years of therapy in a week. And
right. That's so
whoa, powerful. So that helped me really connect with my inside and help me develop compassion, not only for my parents, but also for myself. And I'm really grateful for that. And I believe that it was a turning point for me in my life. And it's hard to believe it's been 25 years.
Isn't that true? And it's, anytime you're just doing the next right thing, it's really amazing how your path just gets kind of illumined and you know where to step. And, I had somebody ask me years ago, somebody who's become a dear friend over the years, and he said, because he had some significant medical issues, he had a brain tumor and just has had quite a journey. And he said to me, is there a map for this thing? And I said, well, the map, here's what's kind of strange about the spiritual journey is you're both creating the map and driving on it at the same time. And he goes, oh, wow. He goes, oh, no. I said, but you can do it. You can do it. I said, look how far you made it. And I do think that's kind of what's required of us. There's so much trust in the journey that we are on. And there is a daily surrender, because the ego always wants to come in and say, it's about this, it's about that. But really, the spirit of us, the soul of us, as I talk about it, always knows, what's our right, next right step. And so it's why you and I both talk so much about this daily work, because as you do it daily, you get more in tune with what that voice is. You know how it feels when you're, following that energy and following that path. And I know that's what you're about. And even that's what your recent publishing is about, your 30 lessons, that really inspired me. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. It was made me smile when I get it in the mail. When I got it in the mail, I was like, Dr. Robin, go girl. I love this. Every one of them, I connected with every one of those 30 lessons. In my mind, I always call them the 30 things, but I think you call them the 30 lessons, right?
Yeah, as I was coming upon my 30 years, something, once again, in my own little weird mind, I look at numbers and I think it's
Right.
important to celebrate. And, I'll be interested to see what I do with the 25 years, just, realizing, having the awareness the last few days that it's been 25 years. That's kind of a new awareness to me. So we'll see what I publish about that. But last summer, I knew my 30 years was coming up, and I started kind of thinking about the lessons I've learned. And I don't know about you, there's people that have come into our lives, and they drop gold on us.
Totally.
They drop a wisdom, and you never know how that's going to co-create your life.
Totally.
And so all of a sudden you're like, holy moly, I heard that this year. And, for me, that's a little bit of my mind. And so, I was thinking about lessons, and I've been kind of jotting them down in my phone that is here to enhance my life, not run my life. And I was kind of writing down the lessons. And then one of my dear friends, I have 3 mentors, oddly enough, they're all 88 right now. Okay. And so he was in town, and he's had a very successful life. And so what do you get somebody successful? And so I thought, you know what? And he's a word guy. He's a national speaker and just amazing. And so I just jotted down 8 BEs that I appreciated about him. And that was in February of 2022. And so he turned in that great 88 in 2022. And so as I was doing that, I thought, I could put my lessons with B's. And so I called my team, who I would give a shout out to. They did a fabulous job pulling this off, because I actually called them in February and said, you know what, 30 years is coming up. I think we should do 30 lessons in 30 years. And they said, okay. And they said, we'll do a video. And literally they pulled all this off. So if you go to smallchangesbigshifts.com/30 lessons, you'll see a video that they graciously put together. And I also have the 30 lessons spelled out. And so I went live for 30 days, Alice, which is a big commitment to do something every day.
I do. Yes, I've seen some of those. They're great.
And talked about, and maybe interview people about. So I think the first one, which you'll really resonate with, that I started with, was be connected.
Yes.
And that means connected to your higher self, and then connected around you, and being aware of how your presence is impacting the room. But at the same time, it really ties into my whole message of small changes, big shifts. And if you're go to our website, you'll see in the right-hand corner, we have a wellness community, a wellness
network. Uh-huh.
And much like you, people come to me and say, well, how do I find somebody like you in my city? And so how there's people like Alice and I in every little nook and cranny around the world. And I'm on a mission to pull us all together so that people can go to this website, Small Changes, Big Shifts, and click on it and say, I'm looking for a Reverend Alice, Reverend Cynthia Alice. And how do I find somebody like her in my community? Or how do I plug into her teachings? I'm looking for an acupuncturist or a naturopathic or a chiropractor. And how do I find them? And I believe it's about building community within community so that people can find each other. But at the same time, they've got to be working together. So we actually have events where they're actually coming together to get to know each other. And it's not just because we pay to be on this platform. It's because we know each other.
Yes.
I mean, I know you. I know your heart. It's easy for me to say, hey, go to this retreat, go to this ministry, go listen to this podcast, because I know without a doubt that you're going to show up fully authentic and you have people's best interest in mind. So be connected was one of them. And
that's number one. Yeah, right. Be connected.
be connected. And then I drip some in there. I think one of my other favorites, of course, is be kind. We're getting ready to have our 3rd annual kindness campaign. I invite our listeners to join us. It's a free campaign. If you want to be a corporate sponsor, feel free to reach out to me, but it's kind. And how does kindness, what does it really do for you in humanity? But first of all, if you're suffering from anxiety, depression, which who's not suffering from some level of anxiety is what I'm realizing. It may be on a different scale, but kindness will change because it changes your neurotransmitters. It changes your brain.
Yes.
So that was day 6. Super fun. One of my others that I love, and this is out of an author out of Florida, Bob Berg, be a go-giver.
I love that one.
Go into a situation and think about, what can I do here to give? And one of my favorite lines to ask people is, if there was one thing, just one thing I could do for you today, what would it be? One thing. And I believe that going in with that heart will really shift your life. And so many times we go to someplace thinking about what can I get? I was talking to somebody recently in our movement, and they said, "Oh, the meetings have changed. I'm just going there, and I'm not getting as much because it's too structured, and I'm like, well, shift your mindset. How can I be a go-giver?"
Oh, exactly. Yeah, right. I often say there's, in general, 2 kinds of people. There's givers to life and takers, and I want to be a giver. I want to be a giver to life, because anytime we give, we're setting ourselves up to receive. That's what's so amazing that people don't understand. Every time you give, you're putting yourself in the driver's seat of your receiving. It's like so beautiful how the universe was made just for us to learn that. It's like every time, people say to me so often, like, how do you do what you do? Like, people say stuff like that often. And I say, well, it's a joy and pleasure to do what I do. And if I didn't want to give at this level, I wouldn't. I don't do it out of guilt. I do it because of the joy it brings. And it always comes back. I know it's a little off topic, a little about something personally for me, but, I was just, I met a new friend, and, I love meeting new people. And she said, you really have a lot of amazing people in your life. And I said, I do. And anytime I need something, I have someone I can call. But I was there when their relationship broke up, or I was there when they needed to remember who they really were, or I was there at 10 o'clock when they needed just somebody to be able to text and say, am I okay? And I said, and I have boundaries, but I can be there. And usually life is so simple. It's not about something grand that I say. It's who I am in those times. So I really hope, friends, as you're listening to this, sometimes somebody needs you to be that friend. Somebody needs you to be that go-giver, right? That person that brings all that good into the moment and gives with a lot of joy and grace and ease, and not expecting anything in return. But I know it always comes back. It's just the law. As we say down south, it's the law, honey. It's the law, right? It's just how it's set up. It's a cause and effect universe. So I love that one. That's one of my favorite ones.
Well, I'm going to have a new lesson that I got today, is be joyful. And people say to me, much like you, how do you, they'll say to me, no, thank you for all you do. And I want to say, can you change it to thank you to how you're being? But anyhow, I'm going to change it to joy. It's a joy to do. So that'll be my new lesson when I made my 40 lessons in 40 years. But you made me think of the LTR. So through our wellness community, we have 4 pillars. And the first one, show up. And I believe you have to show up for yourself and for other people. And then the second one is be a go-giver. And the third one is celebrate. And we're celebrating each other, celebrating our friendships, celebrating the possibility and the hope and humanity. And the fourth one is you got to do one-on-ones. You've got to meet people where they're at and get out of I love small groups. I love big groups. But what I really love is I love that walk with somebody where I get to hear their heart. So we call it LTRs, lifetime relationships, which is what we have. Alice, I want to go to a couple more, and I'm going to invite our listeners to today. Maybe think about, what are some of your guiding bees, and what does the word being really mean? And it makes me think of one of the great spiritual teachers that wrote several books, Wayne Dyer, and he talked about we're spiritual beings, not
Mm-hmm.
spiritual doings. And so I love the one that's be congruent. And that one
Yes.
really shifted me when I was 40, and where one of my coaches said something. She said it kind of like this. It's not exactly how she said it, but you're the 5-letter F word, and the 5-letter F word,
What is
fraud,
it?
fraud. And that was like, whoa. And you know how there's person that's a holistic practitioner and you're giving to everybody, but you forget your own self. And some might call that martyr. And so that was really a wake up call for me, and thinking, Michelle,
Yeah.
you deserve to be well. And you don't have to give up of yourself to do for others.
Right.
And so how be this person that people are going, I want what you got. And what I have is I have a beingness about me that hopefully attracts other people. And I'm going to tell you, I've got people that don't appreciate that, and that's okay. It's been a hard lesson as a people pleaser, but everybody doesn't love me. And
that is a hard lesson. I've had it myself.
It's like, whoa, 2x4. But it was lesson 16, be congruent. And I actually kind of put them in order, by the way. And if you go to the 30 lessons, you'll see kind of some of the stories, and it just along the journey, I invited people to come on the journey with me and think about their own journey of beingness. I can go on and on. I've got a couple more, but I don't know. What's one of your favorite B's in your own life?
I'll tell you one of my favorite. Well, my favorite for my own life is be grateful, be generous, and be grateful. Those two things, if you're doing that, life works. Being generous and being grateful, because they're both giving attitudes and actions. So for me, and it happens to be, I have on this shirt that says "Grateful Today," that we just had made for our church. We're doing a fun T-shirt Sunday coming up. But I love gratitude because it's a way to acknowledge people, right? And so I love telling people thank you. I love showing people thank you. I love, lifting people up. And I've never really had a negative reaction to gratitude. It's really hard to not want to connect with somebody who's just showing you all kinds of gratitude. It's like people, because people are seen, and acknowledged. I just had a experience with somebody new to the ministry, and he's a drummer, and he and his wife are there. And I just sent him a little text yesterday after church. He'd done a great job. He really worked on this little part, And I was like, you know what? I am so grateful you guys are here, and I'm honored, to support both of you and your journey. I'm honored to be your minister. And what I got back was huge. But it was like he never gets thanked, in other places in his life, right? So it was just like this major thing. And I was just kind of like doing a little touch in to let him know. So you never know the impact a little gratitude is going to have. But see, even me telling it brings tears to my eyes.
Well, I've got about 3 things to say to that. And I love be generous. It's 2 of the B's, and be grateful. And, I think it's important to give a shout out to Dave, who does such a professional job.
Exactly.
And really shows up full-hearted. So Dave, we're grateful for your talent. We're grateful for your presence. We're grateful for the way Holy Spirit moves through you to help get the message of hope and healing out to the world.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I am honored to be just a small part of this larger journey. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I think about, I've got day 28 as I'm going through these numbers. And once again, I tell them in a story, Alice, you'll get this, because I just thought about the journey, about people who showed up for me as a kid, and no one goes it alone. No one goes it alone, and be the ripple. And part of people say, I'm doing this because people have poured into me. I think about all the Mary Omwakes, I'm looking at my wall over here again. I got the Carol Lakins and the Linda Finkstons and the Denise Hennings and my family and the Fred and the Tom and the Ben and I'm just looking at these people have just poured into me. And so the gratitude is just on the surface.
Yes.
But I want to tell you, I know our time is starting to shift a little bit on this beingness. And once again, I invite our listeners to go through this exercise.
Yeah.
Because as I went through this series, and if you want to go back and see it, I did on Facebook from March 8th to or March 9th to April 8th. But I want to tell you, the last one really got me, and it was about be you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I tell the story in my network. I've got this person. Her name is Robin, Robyn Stevens, and she's a feng shui person. And she has shifted my life in so many positive ways, besides helping create this magnificent space that I get to live in. But she told a story about how she went into this house for a mother was struggling with her child. And this is true for many people right now. People are struggling in life and kind of slogging through it. And life was not meant to slog through it. Life was meant to embrace it and move through with grace and ease. One of my affirmations. And she's telling the story about how she got called to help this family out. And they had this daughter who was really struggling with suicidal ideation. And
Wow.
and I'm listening to her tell the story in we have a group of providers that run our movement because there's champions in every community. And the only way we can make this a global community is if we find the champions that are willing to say, I'm willing to show up. I'm willing to be a go-giver. I'm willing to do one-on-ones. I'm willing to celebrate other people and know that I can't fix everybody. So Robin is that person, and she's one of our all-stars. And so she said, I went to this house, and she was talking about feng shui. And I walked into this house, and the mother was telling me about her child who was struggling. And so she sees princess and king and queen everywhere walking through. And they had gotten permission to go into the daughter's room. And when she walked in the daughter's room, it was dark. She didn't see a daughter. She saw a son. And what she found out is that this child wasn't able to feel connected in their own home because they were referenced as a she, and it was really a he.
Wow.
And so Robin was able to tell the mother, here's what I found. And then as they're walking through the house on the way out, the mom started to pull off princesses and king, queen, and started to shift the energy. And it changed this child's life. And so as we're walking through these times in humanity where we're currently at, be you and try to. And I think that I really believe that we come in as these whole beautiful souls. And unfortunately, we're told some things that aren't the truth about us.
Yes.
And so how can you be the best version of you? And so I am proud of you, sister. I am proud of you showing up. And I know there's some people that are naysayers for you as there are for me, and as there were for everybody on my board, whether it's Mary or Fred or Barnett. I know that not everybody loves us, and that's okay, because I want to be the best version of me, because when I meet my creator, I want to know that I used every single bit of talent that was given to me. And so be you is lesson 30.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Michelle Robyn. Always a pleasure and a blessing. And I'm looking forward to us doing some work together, in the next year. I do see that. And I'm always grateful for our connection in unity in our spiritual path that is larger than any denomination, and also in our work and how we live in the world. I'm on your team, whatever you might need. I'm always a supporter of you and your work. And as always, Dave, thanks for your support. And our listeners, we love you. We bless you as always. We're so grateful you listen. Thank you for all the ways you financially support, because that keeps us on the air and lets us know that we are making a difference in your life. So thanks again for joining us, dear friends, and blessings on the journey.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2022, Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The SoulWorks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. SoulWorks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the SoulWorks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.